I know there are elections. I know that we'll be talking about politics. But more than politics, political parties, what is most important for a human being is air and water. Namaskara. Today the South Indian is going to focus on this story. Bengaluru goes dry and desperate. There are two D's there. It is dry, but now ladies and gents, it's also desperate. You know, it happens is that whenever we are faced with any kind of a problem, after a while we human beings get used to it. We'll meet each other and say, is there water in your house? Say no. What about you? Oh, today I got water. It becomes part of the narrative and finally you actually forget all about it. But why should one? Why should one forget? We vote these governments in, don't they? It's been weeks and Bengaluru, like I said, is desperately dry. On the streets, you see two scenarios unfolding. Either people are chasing after water tanks or people with luggage are just leaving the IT capital. It's almost like, you know, during COVID when people would walk back to their villages. I know it's an exaggeration to say it's the same thing happening in Bengaluru, but everyone is going back, most people, sorry, are going back home. You know, IT people said we'll work from home, we will not come to office. But then now companies have been telling their workers, don't work from home, go back home. First up, to put things in perspective, my colleague Mohammad Wajiullah takes a look at the problem through several angles and brings different voices to the fore.
BJP workers have now gathered at the Freedom Park today to protest against the issue of water and the scarcity of water that Bengaluru has been facing for the last one and a half week. As you can see, all of them are here holding buckets in their hands. They have placards in their hands. They have banners with DK Shivkumar and Stalin in their hand, and they're clearly here to voice out their discontent against the fact that they have no water at home, but the Karnataka government had given water to Tamil Nadu to voice out, to amplify their protest with regards to the lack of water that the city has been facing. While the BJP is protesting over here, the government has made it clear that there is no issue of water as per the way the BJP has projected, while we on the other hand have gone to the outskirts of Bengaluru, such as places like RR Nagar, Kengeri, your Whitefield area, and over there apartments are suffering with water. They don't have water in their tank. The other day we went to an apartment in Kengeri. They have a capacity of 4 lakh liters of tank, but the entire tank was pitch dry. So the situation of water is getting grimmer and grimmer. Right now we are in the month of March. April, May is yet to come, and the situation is going to get worse and worse. Here all the top BJP leaders who are there in the city are present here. They have been protesting against this, and as you can see, it's an entire sea of BJP people who have come here, not just as BJP workers but as citizens of Bengaluru, to protest against the issue of water. And it now remains to be seen how far will the government take this into account. How far will it make sure that people who suffer with the issue of water are able to get water in their place? It all remains to be seen. To start off with, why do we have a man wearing a mask of Siddaramaiah and a man wearing a mask of DK over here?
See, this protest that you're seeing here today is not something that has happened today or overnight. There has been a lot of concern on water that has been raised for the last 1.5 years almost. The monsoon here in Karnataka was not well done, which is why we are in this situation. Did the CM not know? Did the DCM not know that we are going to be in this situation? That is why we are here calling against the DCM and Chief Minister. What preparation have you done to make sure that there is no drought? Have you made any preparation? Absolutely not. You are more concerned about your guarantee scheme, spending 12 crore for every function of the Chief Minister to go for any guarantee related samavesha. There has been absolutely zero preparation. There has been no concern towards the people of Bengaluru. There has been no concern towards the people of Karnataka.
You know, while the poor people have nowhere to go and vent, and worse is that they have very limited options. Insofar as buying water is concerned, it is no different for those who live in plush condos. These days, it seems in Bengaluru that it is a curse to be heading such residential complexes because of the anger and desperation of people. The government is seen to be doing its best. For instance, D.K. Shivakumar fixed the prices of tankers. For up to 5 kilometers, a 6,000 litre water tanker will cost 600, they said. An 8,000 litre water tanker will cost 700 and a 12,000 litre tank water will cost 1,000 rupees. But is that being adhered to? No, say many residents, not at all. It seems that there is complete ad hocism when it comes to water tankers. When Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and Deputy Chief Minister Shivakumar are apparently struggling for water, then what remains to be said? Nothing actually. Well, this is old footage, ladies and gentlemen, but very recent, as in when the water crisis began in Bengaluru. Look at that visual on your screens right now, water tanker going to Krishna, which is the home cum office of Siddaramaiah.
I am very seriously looking at it. I had a meeting with all the officials. We are taking over all the tanks. We are identifying the points where our water is available. 270 taluks have been dried. More than 3,000 borewells have been dried in Bangalore. We are just looking at whatever the water is coming from Kaveri, it is coming. The fifth stage will be completed only by December. By May end. May end it will be completed. We are at it. We will see that we provide water to very reasonable rate to all the people. We know that we are concerned about it because all the borewells have been dried, including my house borewell also has been dried.
Very strange. You just heard D.K. Shivakumar. But now listen to this one where he is contradicting his own statement, suggesting there is no water crisis, and says that arrangements have been made for all the dried borewells.
As far as Bangalore, there is no water crisis. Only about 7,000 borewells have been dried, but we have made an alternative arrangement for all those things. We have taken control of the water tanks. We have identified the water sources. We will see that water will be supplied. And as far as Kaveri is concerned, water is going on everywhere. But BJP is trying to tell that we are leaving water to Tamil Nadu. It is totally false. We have kept at no point of time we can't release any water to Tamil Nadu. There is no water to be released. It is just a political game they are trying. Let they do their thing. That is why I worked for water. I worked on Padayatra to see that Mekedatu has been done. Still I appeal to the Prime Minister and the BJP ministers and the MPs, see that we get permission for Mekedatu.
This is so wonderful, right? I mean, the BJP apparently accuses the Congress that you are giving water to Kaveri, water to Tamil Nadu. Well, both Siddaramaiah and D.K. Shivakumar have been very categorical and said not one drop will we give to Tamil Nadu. There is accusation, oh, that's because you are part of the India bloc. That's why you will give water to Tamil Nadu. For God's sake, water is not shared in that fashion. We are all not so naive. On the other hand, Shivakumar changes the goalpost. He talks about Mekedatu. Meanwhile, IT workers who comprise the backbone of the IT capital, that is Bengaluru, began working from home. But now, like I said, they've been asked to just go home. School children are going to school and managing with very little water. There has been appeal that at least give us some water to manage these children. We cannot also declare holidays for these kids. In the latest, Bangalore Water Supply and Sewerage Board, BWSSB announced that it shall reduce water supply by 20% to major consumers, including companies, hospitals, railways and airports. This shall be effective 15th of March, when the supply of Kaveri water provided by the board will be gradually decreased, with the reduction ranging from 1% to 20%. There is of course the much awaited Kaveri stage 5, which is to benefit nearly 50 lakh people living in Rajarajeshwari Nagar, Dasarahalli, Mahadevapura, Bommanahalli and other zones of the Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagarapalike. Rain deficit, drought, bad planning, concretization of Bengaluru and several other reasons have been cited for the situation that Bengaluru is in today. Is this even news for all of us? As in, haven't we heard all this before and in the context of other cities? Then what is the real problem? Let's debate. Let me now welcome all the guests on the show. Sandeep Aniruddhan has joined us on the show, and the other names are as follows. I'll just get you the names. There seems to be a bit of a problem with the, yeah, there it is. Shubha Ramachandran, Harini Nagendran, and of course Sandeep Aniruddhan. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes, you know, even this kind of gives up. Now, a very warm welcome to all of you, and I cited a whole lot of problems. It's been weeks, the problem, it seems like the needle is not moving at all, just not moving. You know, it seems to be one, you plug one problem, another one comes, so on and so forth. The fact of the matter is, all of you, my experts, is that Bengaluru is not just dry, but it is also desperate. I want to go turn by turn. I know it's not like a quick fix that you eat this medicine and your common cold will disappear. No, I know it's very complicated. But according to you, what is the top reason for the condition that Bengaluru is in today? Harini, let me start with you.
Thanks. The top reason is we're not harvesting our water enough. You know, we can keep depending on water from the Kaveri, water from Mekedatu, but the reality is Bangalore has enough water that if we harvest all our rainwater and we reuse our water sufficiently, at least 50%, if not more, of our water, we can become self-reliant. And our own research, I'm an ecologist, so looking at our own research, you know, the problem started happening really in 1892 when Bangalore first got piped water. It had a choice to replace the city's supply or to supplement the city's supply. We decided to replace our internal supply from the lakes and the wells and all of the other, you know, the internal water supply of Bangalore with external supply. So we at that point stopped realizing that our internal water was important to our water security. This is not new, you know, this is today in the climate change, but we are going to face the same scenario multiple times in the coming years and decades, and it's going to get worse and worse.
So we got to harvest our own water. We have to manage water ourselves. Is that what you're saying?
We have to manage it ourselves.
Yeah,
exactly.
but Harini, you know, Harini, for people, I know what you say makes and that's one of the points that I'm going to talk about. But more than that, we elect governments, Harini. We elect governments, and with governments come town planners. With town planners come strategists. Why should I pay taxes, water bill, water tax, road tax, and then also manage my own water? I believe that when you say we, it's a collective we, as in the government, the authorities and everyone. But the point is that I quite agree. What was the government doing? They knew very well, because this kind of a thing, this crisis, Harini, has been brewing for many days. Let me also now welcome V. Ram Prasad, who's co-founder and convener of Friends of Lakes. Shubha Ramachandran, of course, is with us, and I spoke to Harini just now, and Sandeep Aniruddhan has also joined us. After Harini, I would like Shubha to please, you know, your opening statement. According to Harini, Shubha, water management, harvesting, rather, we have to start doing this. Do you think that is the main problem for why Bengaluru is dry and desperate today? Shubha Ramachandran?
Yeah, I just start by saying that, of course, we are in a crisis, but haven't we always been in a crisis? So if you look at Bangalore, there are parts of the city which gets water that is supplied from the river Kaveri. But there are large parts that are completely dependent on groundwater, which they have to get out of their own borewells or which is supplied from tankers. So in a way, it's a question of when do we decide that we are in crisis? Are we always in crisis? Like, let's say when we declare that we are a drought year, there are some numbers which say that we are going into drought. Similarly, to declare a crisis, what exactly is the condition? Of course, we have these reports like you spoke about, people on Kanakpura Road, apartments that are going out of water, and all of that is true. But that happens even in not these dry times and not the summer times. So sometimes I think to myself that aren't we always in crisis? And like you rightly pointed out, not just for water, our traffic, our air, our soil,
everything.
Isn't all of that always in crisis?
So very good, very well said, Shubha, and that's what I keep saying, that, you know, I will do due diligence as a citizen. Are you doing it? Can I turn to the government and ask them? Did you have enough planning? If I have an examination tomorrow, am I supposed to start studying tonight and expect to get cent%? I don't think it works like that. They have to do due diligence. It's time. V. Ram Prasad, who's also joined us, Friends of Lakes. Mr. Ram Prasad, Thank you very much for joining us. Friends of Lakes, what a wonderful name. And you know, what I've heard is Bengaluru used to once upon a time have 1,000 lakes, sir. Is that right, Mr. Ram Prasad? And today, look at it. I'm going to read a statistic to you, sir. This is Indian Institute of Science, you know, Center for Ecological Sciences. They say that the water spread area has plummeted from 2,324 hectares in 1973 to just 696 in 2023. Is that the reason you think, Mr. Ram Prasad, that Bengaluru has gone dry and desperate today?
One of the things is that, you know, Bangalore, which had a kind of water sustainability thing or water security, what was happening through lakes, which was planned through lakes to harness the water and use the lakes as water harvesting structures. And
I think there is a problem there. Sandeep Aniruddhan, you know, you are a regular, you are somebody who works very closely on issues like this. You were on my show last week, you were on my show last year, you've always been on my show, Sandeep Aniruddhan. Why is it that Bengaluru is not just dry today, it is also desperate? Is the government floundering around, not knowing what to do? One day, Mr. D.K. Shivakumar says, borewells are all dried up, my house borewell has also dried up. Then he says, where is the water problem? There is no water problem. I don't know. I can't say it. I'm asking you, considering you work. You know, you're the convener of Citizens Agenda for Bengaluru. Is the government struggling to find a solution? Sandeep Aniruddhan?
Well, so the fact of the matter is that government has been floundering. Not only now, governments have been floundering for the last 7-8 decades. The reason being, they have never built capacity for planning. We've never had planning authorities. We've never employed urban planners to plan the city. You don't expect the average politician or bureaucrat to do urban planning. It is a very complicated, highly specialized skill set. We have never employed planners. That is why we are here today. We have not audited the capacity of the city and the kind of infrastructure we have to build to incorporate a certain amount of population. And the population growth is just shot out of control. It used to be barely about 50 lakhs at the turn of the century. Now it's 1.5 crores. And have we built capacity? No. That's why everything is failing in the city. Be it transport, mobility, the air quality. Look at how we've destroyed our natural resources. We had about 70% green cover. Today we're left with less than 2%. We had about our wetlands have been destroyed by almost 95%. Our green cover has been reduced by 97%. And so similarly, it's a complete tale of disaster for Bengaluru. So why are we here like this when we have more than enough water through rainfall? And we had a great network of lakes and wetlands which used to put that water into the ground. Chasing after these faraway resources, so this was bad policy. By chasing after faraway rivers, we destroyed the local water security we had. Why? Because we didn't have planning. Again, it all goes back to planning. Yeah. And biggest crime the governments did is, this is mandated in our constitution, like I keep telling you, 74th Amendment.
74th Amendment, yes. Yes.
We don't have one. Yeah. Does it take a government? Is it rocket science? 30 years and no planning authority?
Absolutely. No, but whenever you talk about 74th Amendment and say that it's not rocket science, every time it echoes, it reverberates, because you are absolutely right, Sandeep. I mean, we just sitting around. That's what I said. We vote you in. Yes, you give us guarantees, but you give us basics, I say. I cannot be fighting for water and air all the time. Harini Nagendra, let's look at the problems going forward. This is the situation today. Like we South Indians, I think all of us, we always think about, okay, it's happened. Let's move forward. What next? The point is, you talk about local water harvesting, local water management. Experts say that harvesting 10% of rainwater in the Bengaluru metropolitan region will increase the water supply in the region by nearly 100%. I mean, that statistics, Harini, is mind-boggling. Do you think this has not been done? Is it a dead idea? Do you think authorities are not interested in this? Because this is, like Sandeep keeps saying, this is not rocket science.
None of it is rocket science, and it's, government after government, like he says, for several decades have not done this. I think it's very simple. We should be restoring our lakes, reviving our old traditions of wells. Not just that, using public, for instance, what if along public roads and flyovers and all these concretized areas, you built micro injection points so that water could get back into the ground? You've destroyed the wetlands, you've destroyed all the possibilities for rain to get into the ground. We simply have too much concrete. And, we don't have, we are a city which the urban planners that we do have are all civil engineers. Nobody understands hydrology, nobody understands pollution, nobody understands the environment, the importance of trees. So there's a lot to be unpacked in here. And really, we can do so much in the city. We will still need to import some water. But
it's not being done. No, people, Harini, people who are watching this show, they are thinking, because I know I'll get all these messages, why are we not doing? You say we can do so much. Harini said we can do so much. Why are we not doing it? Who do you think is to? We have to put blame somewhere. No, we can't possibly say, everything is. Why is it that it's not being done? Because it's not a priority for politicians to get votes?
I think also we as citizens are not demanding it of them sufficiently.
Right.
This crisis will pass, and 1 week later we'll forget all about it, or 1 month later we'll see
but
the
Harini,
they will come, the floods will come.
Yeah, Harini, I do this show called the South Indian. Let me tell you, Bangaloreans are right on top when it comes to civic sense. You people walk when your trees are felled. You people scream and shout and protest when anything goes wrong with the city, with any of your parks. So I don't think that is the problem. Maybe it is about that the politicians have actually, they don't bother, they are kind of totally blasé about it. V. Ram Prasad, co-founder and convener of Friends of Lakes, is back with us. You were saying, Mr. Ram Prasad, you were talking when we lost your connection, sir. You were talking about water bodies. We were talking about 1,000 lakes in Bengaluru. Let me give you one statistic, sir. 98% of lakes are encroached upon, and 90% of them are fed with untreated sewage or industrial effluents. Don't you think that is shocking?
Yes.
Why was this done?
No, so the whole thing about Bangalore lakes is that what is happening with Bangalore is that the systems are coming later. As Anirudh also was telling, Sandeep also was telling, and Harini also has been telling, that planning is one of the aspects. But let me come to the other aspect, which just now all of you have touched based upon, and this is a very, very important aspect, which many a times we have been telling, that certain things needs to happen like this, and a crisis needs to be created. And I'll tell you, crisis needs to be created. And one more thing is, now we know that there are tankers running with the MLA's photo around it, telling that, I am providing water for you. So now the thing is that we also know that certain areas are getting water, those who are those who are voted for it. So for me, it has been quite some time that we have been telling about one thing known as water slavery. And today, we have come to this crisis, but even before the crisis also, there was, to certain areas, water would come 3 times a day, and suddenly it was reduced to twice a week or once a week, just because they did not vote for that MLA. And I'll tell you, this is going on.
See,
and this is with evidences. We are telling that there is something known as water slavery. You vote for me, you get water.
Look at that, and that is a fundamental right. I could totally agree with you, Mr. This is completely.
So same thing. To create this crisis, lake after lake after lake, in spite of knowing, what did BDA do? BDA did not rejuvenate. None of the lakes which BDA rejuvenated, many of them are not to an optimum which was rejuvenated as a design for rainwater harvesting. The rejuvenation also is happening only for recreation and for beautification, not for rainwater harvesting, not for groundwater
This
recharge.
is Mr. Ram Prasad. I think today in this first part of the show, you have made some stellar points, Mr. Ram Prasad. Stellar points, that water slavery. My colleague Shampa, we both work on this show. She was telling me today that in Bengaluru there is a man who has a bath once a week now. Is this the way one should live? Is this the way that, we've voted for this government. Is this the price we pay? I have to take a break now, ladies and gents, but when I am coming back, we're going to talk about all the other aspects of this desperate water crisis in Bengaluru. Stay with us.
Start with the end in mind. You need to know where you want to reach. Every morning that we wake up, we are exercising our choice. The destiny is decided. The results are known that I'm going to win. Life of a goalkeeper is something which has always intrigued me. When you come into a stadium, this is the highest level of pressure. When I set out to do something, I decide in my mind that failure is not an option.
What you feel very strongly about, those are the stories to tell.
I have a mind which is absolutely restless. Mind and body are entangled sensations. That brings me back to golf. It's an amazing game.
This is not a perfect game. You only learn from them.
If you have a formula to a success, then you can replicate it.
I feel this is my first step. I'm starting now.
Winner is first born in the mind. I think, therefore I am. We are all about our mind.
This and more. Streaming on News9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
We are trying a lot of experiments, innovations and ideas.
We came out with a new format in audio, which is audio series.
Listening for content-oriented company in India, which is a very unique proposition.
When we look at audio in general, we had music, which is like extremely old format, and then we had podcasts.
A natural extension to Pocket FM is to move from Hindi to regional content. I think I'd love to see their FY24 numbers, which they claim will be close to 1,000 crores. I think there are talks of them to raise another $80 to $100 million of funding.
This and more. Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, the US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
The lab-grown diamonds are not mined and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
For the very first time in our investigation, we unmasked the killer of Ravindra Matre.
In 5G, we have to stand with the world, and in 6G, we have to lead the world.
Winning a Grammy was an absolutely surreal experience.
It's probably the best kept secret in India.
Family-owned business, which has been extremely clinical in their approach. They have not hesitated ever to kill their darlings.
Typical to a South Indian business empire, I think they've shunned the limelight almost deliberately.
Welcome back. We're talking about Bengaluru's condition, which has gone dry and of course desperate. Before the break, several relevant points were made, and V. Ramprasad, co-founder and convener of Friends of Lakes, said there is water slavery in areas where if you vote for a particular MLA, only then you're promised water. What kind of governance is this in a country where water and air, I think, are basics that you and I need. I wanted to speak with Shubha, but apparently she will join us in a bit. Oh, Shubha is back. What lovely, wonderful news. Shubha, good to have you back. I want to talk to you about this entire dependency on Kaveri, which flows through several states. It's not only Tamil Nadu or Bengaluru, India, but this complete dependency on borewells. There was a time when the borewell, only 5% of needs were met by the borewell, but today it has gone to such an extent. See, with that, borewell dries up, then comes water tanks which are fleecing you. I have been speaking to many people in the morning. The kind of fleecing, although the government has now put a cap on the prices of water tanks, but I am sorry, like every part of this country, they drive past you, they say pay me 1200 rupees and I will not stop. Don't you think that we can stop this dependency completely, this borewell dependency and water tank dependency, if we start planning now, or you think it's too late, Shubha Ramachandran?
So I would say that groundwater, it has been traditionally a source of water across the country. So the thing is it wiser to bring water from, if you look at the city of Bangalore, since there are no perennial rivers that flow through the city, whichever water we want to get from a river, we have to pump it from far away, whether it be the Kaveri or any other tributary or any other river at all. So given that, I would say that it is good to look at our groundwater. We are anyway looking at it. But the approach that we at Biome take is to look at the shallow aquifer. Because like we speak of our lakes traditionally, if you look across Bangalore, whether it be our Kaban Park, Lal Bagh, central parts of Bangalore, MG Road, even there, even now you see old open wells that used to be the source of water and have now gone dry because of lack of management or have become dustbins over a period of time because nobody really cares. So what if we looked at groundwater, but also acknowledge the fact that we have to maintain our groundwater table and our aquifers so as to rely on it as a source. So I would say not just the deep aquifer that we've started to rely on over a period of time. Like you said, I think we started depending on borewells around the 1980s.
Yeah.
Initially, the borewells were very shallow, just as deep as open wells themselves, 20, 30 feet. The only advantage was that you didn't need to make a big hole in the ground, but you could just drive a 6-inch hole into the ground and get water, and you could go deeper and hence had a more perennial annual source of water. So what I would say is that the way things are now across the country, in fact, if you read reports, in all our cities and towns, up to 50% of the water requirement is actually being met through groundwater. So then instead of saying, let's stop depending on groundwater, we have to see how can we manage our groundwater.
Yeah, because so far the management has been abysmal, no? I mean,
yes, management has been one of
2 decades. I mean, what is this? More than 20 years has gone past. Those children born at that era are now adults and parents. What is this? I mean, you can't possibly keep waiting for Godot endlessly, no? There has to be something which has to give. Sandeep Aniruddhan, considering that you always have said that it is bad planning and no thinking and people are not interested, Sudha, that's what you keep telling me. I want your opinion looking forward on the Kaveri stage 5, or 6, which water will be utilized from Kaveri. Do you think that it is going in the right direction? Do you think it is something which will give temporary respite to Bengaluru and other parts of Karnataka, or it is just one of those ideas which are harebrained? I am sorry, I can't mince words.
So there is no point mincing words. Actually, the whole idea of bringing water from Kaveri to Bengaluru itself was a harebrained policy, because the amount of water we were getting from Kaveri was around 17-18 TMC, and it's expected to go up to 20 or 22 as per the new report. But the rains we get are between 17 to 24 TMC. In a good year, we get more water from rainfall than we are drawing from Kaveri. So whoever planned this project, if I don't mince words, was very unintelligent. Why did a project like this happen? Because of lack of foresight, lack of holistic understanding, and also because there was money coming on it. World Bank was willing to give very good loans, maybe at low interest or whatever, because they had a lot of money lying around and they wanted to enslave our country through policy. So, and then there's corruption, large project, big kickbacks. So it's a pipeline construction economy that drives all these projects. It's not because it's sustainable. What was sustainable was, in the entire district of Bengaluru, we had about 2,000 lakes. Inside the city limits, we had 1,000 lakes. These were capable of holding all that water, putting it into the ground. In fact, a lot more, 25 to 30% of our ground was actually, the topsoil was largely wetlands. Now, we have lost all of it. Why? Because water was coming in our taps from a faraway source. So it is bad policy once again. You created a policy where people start ignoring their neighborhood lakes and ponds. Now, that is not the biggest issue. So you were mentioning, Sudha, earlier that, well, people demand, politicians are not listening, all that. Let's put that aside, because people's demands are based on their awareness, their amount of information they have, and roughly about only 2% of
all right, I'm running out of time. I have to go to others. I'm sorry, Sandeep. I have to go to others also. Harini Nagendra, what about, today everyone, like Sandeep said, you want to open the tap, you want water. Very simple, Harini. No one has the time. They are all fed up now. It's not even peak summer. But there is talk about usage of treated water. Quickly tell me, is that also a subject which is ignored and totally neglected when it comes to planners?
Absolutely. We don't have, like I said, any environmental planning, any hydrologists. We need to be reusing all our treated water. For that also, we need to have some kind of guarantee that our treated water will not make us sick. So we need treated water, we need to do it, but we need to have robust policies in place so that when we have the treated water, it's actually treated well. And so there's two aspects of that. But we definitely need to. We can't flush all our water out of the city as we're doing right now.
Brilliant. I mean, that was quick and very, very. V. Ram Prasad, let me come to you. Mr. Ram Prasad, treated water we need to do. We need to look at water management. This Kaveri phase 5, like Sandeep says, that is also harebrained. Politicians don't listen to us. What is the way out, Mr. Ram Prasad? Not that I am creating panic, but imagine a family with 5 people, children, who do not have the wherewithal. What do, sir? Water is a basic for a human being. So I feel so guilty drinking water now. I won't. Go on.
Yeah, one thing is awareness on the matter that what is happening and other things. That is number one. Number two is that the amount of water that we can. There are individuals also, whatever they can do within their capacity. Now coming to the political side and other sides, one of the things is to understand that how we are getting dependent on this tap, the water that that is coming over here. But at the same time, we'll have to know that if I'm using certain amount of water, that much of water should be put back into the ground also for us to maintain this one. That's number two. Already we are talking about treated water. Number one. Number two is treated water for construction purposes and other things should be taken care of. And lakes are there for us to, rainwater is there. That is first thing, that the lake should be filled with rainwater, not with treated water so much. If at all, if you are looking at a perennial lake, which most of our lakes were not perennial, but even if you are looking at a perennial lake, then we should have in such a way that when there is no rainwater, it is the treated water, and when there is rainwater coming in, the treated water goes out, then the rainwater comes in. So those kind of planning. But again, I'm telling you, anywhere where there is planning, then there is no crisis, and when there is no crisis, then there is no 4G exemption. So most of the time, I would just tell you what is this 4G exemption. 4G exemption is during crisis. You don't have to, tell who gets the tender. You don't have to be transparent. Your transparency law is kept outside. Your accountability law is kept outside. So 4G exemption also becomes a very, very important part.
Yeah, but all this, I'm sorry, I have completely run out of time. Mr. Ram Prasad, all this planning and policy, you don't expect the women on the screen. I mean, we were just playing women on the screen, visuals of how women are standing. Look at that. Is it their job? Is it their job? It's not their job, sir. It is the job of the government, the authorities and the stakeholders and the experts. I pay tax, give me water. That's the only thing that I would understand, and I stand with all those women who are standing there with pots, wanting water. Many thanks to Mr. Ram Prasad for joining us. Sandeep, as always, thank you very much. Shubha Ramachandran, such a pleasure to have you on my show. And Harini Nagendra. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, my second story is almost like this. You know, you try and play tricks with nature. Nature comes back to bite you. I'm going to bring you a story from Kerala about man-animal conflict in a moment. That's the story we are focusing on, and please, we're not trying to apportion blame to Annie Raja at all. But this is my take entirely on what she's thinking. Wayanad's Annie Raja on dangerous animals. In recent times, the sight of an elephant chasing after the 47-year-old Ajish Joseph was most traumatic. If you remember what that visual was the one that is playing on your screen right now. Ajish Joseph, who enters the compound of a house while trying to escape from the elephant, which in turn comes after him after smashing the gate. Inside the compound, there were two children who had a narrow escape as they ran in opposite direction. Ajish was later rushed to hospital and he was unfortunately pronounced dead. Ajish was one victim of the elephant and the other was 52-year-old Paul of Velachalil, who worked with South Wayanad Forest Division. Even though the Kerala Legislative Assembly unanimously passed a resolution urging the union government to amend the relevant sections of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 to address the escalating human-animal conflict in the state, the point is, would that suffice to reduce the man-animal conflict at all? The latest to join in the chorus in suggesting an amendment to the Wildlife Protection Act is Annie Raja, the CPI candidate who is the candidate against Rahul Gandhi in Wayanad in the impending Lok Sabha elections. Annie has an advantage over others because she is a local and understands the pain that people go through after losing a family member to an animal. She is from Wayanad. While the Kerala government has declared the man-animal conflict as a state-specific disaster, Annie strongly advocates, much like her party, permitting hunting or killing of wild animals that become dangerous to human life. Yes, there have been protests and loss of lives, I totally agree, but amending the Wildlife Protection Act without correcting the imbalance between man and animal may prove futile. Let's talk about the specific section 11 of the 1972 Act, which regulates hunting of wild animals. As per clause 1A of the section, the chief wildlife warden of a state, if he is satisfied that a wild animal specified in Schedule 1 has become dangerous to human life or disabled or diseased beyond recovery, whatever may be the reason, permit hunting or killing of such an animal. The section gives powers to such a warden to order killing of such a wild animal if it cannot be tranquilized or relocated after capturing. And that is where many animal conservationists say lies the problem. How about first addressing the shrinking of animal habitats? If you look at Wayanad, particularly that region, it is so stark. How about training local authorities to handle an animal crisis in the first place? Don't blame that elephant which ran after Ajish. There is a big history behind it. It was radio collared. But did anyone, guarantee that it will not turn a particular way when it enters Kerala? I doubt it. In a country where animal rights and forest laws have been broken with impunity, will the amendment alone to the Wildlife Protection Act 72 and that too of hunting or killing an animal suffice? Let me also add that Annie Raja does want to look at the problem holistically, but then why make hunting and killing of so-called dangerous animals the kernel of your argument, Annie? I think you have to look at it in the larger perspective. Just by parking it on the doorstep of the union and say let's bring this amendment, or just by saying that the people are suffering, is not going to suffice. I think like much the water crisis in Bengaluru, the floods in Chennai, or the man-animal conflict, everything needs to be looked through a renewed prism, considering the conflict between man and others is reducing, with man having the advantage, which is totally unfair. And with that, the South Indian says Vanakkam, Namaskaram. Tomorrow is another day, and tomorrow is another day to listen to stories. You tell me stories, I will listen, I will tell you stories, and you listen, and that's how we go ahead. Thank you for watching.
Those who are economically backwards from any community should be given, you can say, that kind of a, you can say, reservation. Not everybody.
This all is bluff, all is nonsense. After 2nd January, I doubt there may be a violence. You are taking Maratha for granted.
The government is confident that they'll be able to give the reservation to the Marathas in Maharashtra.
Jarange Patil wants all Marathas to be included in the OBC category. On February 20th, the Maharashtra government announced a separate 10% reservation for the Marathas. This is the third time a separate quota for the Marathas has been proposed. Two previous attempts, in 2014 and 2018, were struck down by courts. Will it be any different this year? Reservation activist Manoj Jarange Patil wants all Marathas to be included in the OBC category.
तर 5.5 ते 6.5 करोड मराठ्यांची एकच मागणी मराठ्यांना ओबीसीतून आरक्षण ओबीसीतून आरक्षण पाहिजे म्हणजे आपला हक्क नाहीये किंवा त्यांच्यावर अन्याय नाही आपल्या नोंदीच ओबीसी आरक्षणात निघाल्या आपल्या पुरावेच आपल्या तिथे निघाले म्हणून आपल्याला ओबीसीत आपलं आरक्षण पाहिजे म्हणण्यापेक्षा आमचं आहे ते आम्हाला पाहिजे ही मागणी आपली.
Since beginning, I'm saying that Maratha Samaj, yes, if they want reservation, give them a separate quota, separate reservation. Don't put these people in our quota, OBC.
Politics over reservations is threatening to disturb Maharashtra's social fabric. Two prominent caste groups, the Marathas and the OBC, are engaged in battle. The reason for this battle is the Maratha organization's demand to induct the Marathas in the OBC. The Maratha activist Manoj Jarange Patil wants the government to issue Kunbi caste certificates to all Marathas so that they can enjoy the OBC quota.
On 26 January, The Eknath Shinde government issued a draft notification that expands the benefits for Kunbis. Now, a blood relative of a Kunbi will be considered a Kunbi even without a Kunbi caste certificate. If this notification becomes law, another 2.5 crore people will get benefits entitled to OBC. This social showdown, so close to the general elections and a few months before the Maharashtra Assembly elections, could spoil the BJP's chances in the state. The BJP considers Maharashtra the second largest contributor to the Lok Sabha with 48 seats, one of its biggest challenges. Chhagan Bhujbal is the tallest OBC leader in Maharashtra. He is aggressively opposing the move to induct the Maratha caste into the OBC category.
Since beginning, I am saying that Maratha Samaj, yes, if they want reservation, give them a separate quota, separate reservation. Don't put these people in our quota, OBC.
Virendra Pawar is the convener of the Sakal Maratha Morcha.